The West Nusa Tenggara provincial government requires civil servants to watch MotoGP. Minister of Manpower cancels the latest JHT regulation. Good evening. It's Wednesday, March 2nd, 2022. Market Headlines is ready to provide you information from business and economy. And with me, Fajar Wayong, you're watching Market Headlines. And let's start Market Headlines. President Joko Widodo said that the potential contribution of the digital economy is estimated to reach 4,531 trillion rupiah in 2030. Therefore, he appealed to all stakeholders to build a conducive digital ecosystem and call all Indonesian digital talents who are abroad to return home.
President Joko Widodo said that the potential contributions of the digital economy to the national economy is estimated to reach 4,531 trillion rupiah in 2030. This figure has increased 8 times compared to the projections in 2025.
Potensi ekonomi digital Indonesia ini di tahun 2025 diperkirakan 146 miliar US dollar. Dan kontribusi ekonomi digital Indonesia diproyeksikan naik 8 kali di tahun 2030, yaitu di angka 4.531 triliun rupiah. Tapi yang saya tidak ingin adalah Indonesia hanya menjadi pasar saja. Indonesia juga harus menjadi pemain. Digital talent kita yang kita miliki yang ada di luar memang harus kita undang untuk kembali ke tanah air. Digital talent baik di bidang AI, di cloud computing, di digital design, di digital marketing, di blockchain.
Nevertheless, Jokowi emphasized that Indonesia should not only become the target market for giant companies, but also become a major player in the country. Therefore, he applied to all stakeholders to build a conducive digital ecosystem together. He also hopes that Indonesian digital talents who are abroad will be invited home. The president also appreciated Indonesia's commitment to empowering Indonesian youth to become players in their own country. Jokowi also hopes that Indonesia's target, which will invite 1,000 digital talents abroad to return home until 2023, can be realized. IDX Channel reports.
The Ministry of Trade admitted to being surprised by the scarcity of cooking oil in the market because the ministry believes that the supply of cooking oil is sufficient, especially after the producers were asked to distribute more than 300 million liters of cooking oil to the market. Secretary of the Directorate General of Domestic Trade at the Ministry of Trade, I Gusti Ketut Astawa, was surprised that the supply of cooking oil was scarce in the market. According to Ketut, cooking oil supply should have flooded in the last 2 weeks.
Oleh karena itu sebenarnya secara komitmen pemenuhan ini sebenarnya harusnya banjir, harusnya terpenuhi dalam jangka waktu sebulan. Nah, oleh karena itu kami beserta jajaran juga Kementerian Perdagangan sedang mencari di mana lagi letak-letak simpulnya ini sehingga apakah ada yang menimbun. Bapak Menteri sudah memerintahkan agar produsen segera memenuhi DMO maupun domestic market obligation tersebut dengan kembali menormalkan distribusi kepada distributor. Ini yang dilakukan oleh Kementerian Perdagangan bersama jajaran terkait termasuk dengan Satgas Pangan sehingga harapannya ke depan ini sudah mulai kelihatan kebutuhan atau pendistribusian daripada minyak goreng ini mulai memenuhi kebutuhan per bulan.
The Ministry of Trade has confirmed that it has asked producer to pour 351 million liters as the A form of fulfilling domestic market obligations for the last 14 days. This figure should be sufficient to meet the needs per month, which ranges from 279 million to 300 million liters. Not only that, the Ministry of Trade together with the Food Task Force is evaluating the distribution of cooking oil to prevent hoarding or other forms of fraud. IDX Channel reports. To increase the number of MotoGP ticket sales, the West Nusa Tenggara provincial government will require state civil servants in the province and district or city to buy MotoGP tickets.
The West Nusa Tenggara provincial government will require state civil servants in the province and district or city to buy MotoGP tickets. This is done in order to increase the number of ticket sales, which are still not optimal. Not only the state civil apparatus, the West Nusa Tenggara provincial government will also target tens of thousands of people who will be the targets of MotoGP ticket sales. The provincial government even provides a special discount of up to 10% for people with West Nusa Tenggara ID cards who want to watch MotoGP at Mandalika.
20 Februari dan nanti akan kami update terus sebanyak 21.530 tiket dari prediksi yang tiket ditolerir adalah sebanyak 63.000. Pemerintah Provinsi Nusa Tenggara Barat kepada ASN-nya diwajibkan untuk menyaksikan halaman-halaman berikutnya. Target mobilisasi 35 tiket penonton, yaitu ASN Provinsi 4.000 tiket, kemudian untuk kabupaten kota se-NTB melalui Bapak Bupati dan Wali Kota sebanyak 16.000 tiket, kemudian pemberlakuan harga khusus kepada masyarakat ber-KTP NTB dengan potongan 10%.
He also hopes that the ticket sales strategy through civil servants in the regions can increase the number of ticket sales until the day of the event on March 18 to 21, 2022. IDX Channel reports.
And we're moving on to global update. Wall Street ended sharply lower on Tuesday as the Russia-Ukraine crisis intensified. Meanwhile, Ukrainian president said Russia must stop bombing Ukrainian cities before meaningful talks on a ceasefire could stall. More stories on today's International Minute. U.S. President Joe Biden has led a standing ovation for the embattled Ukrainian people in a rewritten State of the Union speech to assail Russian President Vladimir Putin for what he called his unprovoked and premeditated invasion of Ukraine. Often polarized along partisan lines, Democrats and Republicans rose to applaud their support for Ukraine, many waving Ukrainian flags and cheering in the chamber of the House of Representatives at Biden's first formal State of the Union speech. Wall Street ended sharply lower on Tuesday with bank stocks bearing the brunt of losses for a second straight day as the Russia-Ukraine crisis intensified, causing anxiety among investors and prompting Apple to pause all product sales in Russia. The Dow dropped nearly 600 points to finish 1.76% lower. The S&P 500 fell 1.55%, and the Nasdaq sank 1.59%. And at the end of the session, Apple joined a growing list of companies shunning Russia, saying it had stopped sales of iPhones in the country out of deep concern for the people of Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Tuesday Russia must stop bombing Ukrainian cities before meaningful talks on a ceasefire could start, as a first round of negotiation this week had yielded scant progress. Speaking in an interview in a heavily guarded government compound, Zelensky urged NATO members to impose a no-fly zone to stop the Russian Air Force, saying this would be a preventative measure and not mean to drag the alliance into war with Russia. Zelensky, who has refused offers to leave the Ukrainian capital as Russian forces advance, also said Ukraine would demand legally binding security guarantees if NATO shut the door on Ukraine's membership prospects. Airbnb is offering free temporary housing for up to 100,000 refugees fleeing Ukraine. The rental company CEO Brian Chesky has sent letters to the leaders of Poland, Romania, Germany and Hungary offering help to those escaping the war. At least 300,000 Ukrainian refugees have entered the European Union so far, after Russia invaded the country, and the bloc needs to prepare for millions more, senior EU and French officials have said. Airbnb's lesser-known non-profit arm, Airbnb.org, chaired by co-founder Joe Gebbia, is dedicated to housing people during moments of crisis around the world. IDX Channel reports. Bali Airport's operations temporarily suspended during Nyepi Day. Market headlines will be right back.
Setiap bulan, saya mensisihkan 100.000 dari gaji untuk nabung saham.
Cara nabung saham nggak ribet, saya aja bisa kok.
Jangan mengandalkan orang tua terus, makanya saya mulai nabung saham.
Yuk kita nabung saham sekarang.
Presidente della Repubblica di Indonesia.
Presidensi G20 di Indonesia akan mendorong upaya bersama untuk pemulihan ekonomi dunia dengan tema Recover Together, Recover Stronger. Kami akan menjamu Yang Mulia dan Bapak Ibu di hamparan pantai Bali yang indah, yang menginspirasi gagasan-gagasan inovatif untuk produktivitas G20 ke depan. Sampai bertemu di Indonesia, terima kasih.
Nah, idenya itu bermula dengan saya dan 2 orang kawan kuliah. Jadi kami temenan kuliah, tapi kami bertiga ini backgroundnya sama-sama dari fishery industry.
Power Breakfast, Senin sampai Jumat, jam 8.30, hanya di IDX Channel.
Welcome back on Market Headlines. Minister of Manpower would return the process and procedures for disbursing old age security or JHT to the old rules. The revamp was carried out in line with President Jokowi's order to revise Manpower Minister Regulation Number 2 of 2022. Minister of Manpower Ida Fauzia said that she would return the process and procedures for disbursing old age security or JHT to the old rules. The revamp was carried out in line with President Jokowi's order to revise Manpower Minister Regulation Number 2 of 2022 concerning procedures and requirements for payment of old age security benefits or JHT. Currently, a revision is being carried out. She also said that as an effort to speed up the revision process, the Ministry of Manpower is currently actively absorbing aspirations with the labor union. The Ministry of Manpower also intensively coordinates and communicates with related ministries and institutions. The JHT program sparked a polemic some time ago after the Minister of Manpower issued Regulation Number 2 of 2022. The polemic was triggered by the time of disbursement, because in Article 3 of the Minister of Manpower Regulation Number 2 of 2022, JHT benefits can only be obtained by workers who are BPJS employment participants when they reach 56 years of age. JHT benefits for participants who reach the age of 56 years include workers who stop working either because they resigned, get laid off, or leave Indonesia for good. IDX Channel reports. The Central Statistics Agency recorded that the number of foreign tourist arrivals to Indonesia in January 2022 reached 143.74 thousand visits. Compared to the previous month, the number of foreign tourist arrivals fell 12.15%.
The Central Statistics Agency recorded that the number of foreign tourist arrival to Indonesia reached 143.74 thousand visits in January 2022. This figure increased by 13.62% compared to the number of visits in the previous year. Meanwhile, when compared to the previous months, the number of foreign tourist arrivals in January 2022 fell 12.15%. He said that in terms of nationality, tourists from Timor-Leste were still the highest at 53.2% or 76.5 thousand tourists.
Ini secara man-to-man jumlah kunjungan wisatawan mancanegara pada bulan Januari 2022 ini mengalami penurunan sebesar 12,15%. Jadi kalau kita lihat jumlah wisatawan pada bulan Januari dibandingkan dengan Desember 2021 ini turun 12,15%.
Sutianto also said that the occupancy rate of star-class hotel rooms in Indonesia in January 2022 reached 42.43%, up to 12.08 points compared to the room occupancy rate in January 2021. However, when compared to the previous months, the room occupancy rate decreased. IDX Channel reports.
Bali's International Airport will be non-operational for 24 hours to support the celebration of Silence Day or Nyepi. The temporary operational closure of Bali Airport will be in effect from March 3, 2022 at 6 local time to March 4, 2022 at 6 local time. Stakeholder Relations Manager of I Gusti Ngurah Rai International Airport, Taufan Yudhistira, noted that the temporary closure of Bali Airport's operations had earlier been coordinated with all relevant parties, airlines and other stakeholders. Despite temporarily closing its operations, Angkasa Pura will keep officers on standby at the airport to handle and take precautionary measures in case of emergency flights. Yudhistira later confirmed that the first flight to operate after the 24-hour airport closure was planned on Friday, March 4, 2022 at around 7 local time.
Secara operasional maupun bandara juga, tapi kami tetap melayani penerbangan yang tentunya nanti ketika ada kritis, dalam artian ada penerbangan yang memang harus.
The Ministry of Environment and Forestry has pushed for 3 priority issues in the G20 presidency, including encouraging actions related to land and sea management. These steps are taken to achieve the environmental and climate change targets by 2022.
The Ministry of Environment and Forestry has pushed for 3 priority issues in the G20 presidency for the Environment Deputies Ministerial Climate and Sustainable Working Group meeting, including encouraging actions related to land and sea management. This step is taken to achieve the climate change target by 2022. The Minister of Environment and Forestry, Siti Nurbaya Bakar, revealed that marine issues are considered to have great blue carbon potential, especially in the mangrove ecosystem, which plays a role in reducing greenhouse gas emission.
Indonesia mengangkat 3 isu prioritas, yaitu supporting more sustainable recovery, enhancing land and sea-based actions to support environment protection and climate objectives, dan enhancing resources mobilization to support environment and climate objectives. Selain inklusi COVID-19, Indonesia mengangkat juga pentingnya isu ocean, kelautan, dari sisi lingkungan dan perubahan iklim.
Indonesia's G20 presidency encouraged 3 three main issues, namely supporting stronger sustainable recovery, then encouraging actions related to land and marine ecosystems management to support environmental protection efforts to achieve climate change target, and finally encouraging resource mobilizations. IDX Channel reports.
Indica Energy sells 69.8% shares ownership in Petrosi. Stay with us. Market Headlines will be back.
IDX First Session Closing Market, Senin sampai Jumat pukul 11.30 hanya di IDX Channel.
Presidente della Repubblica di Indonesia.
Presidensi G20 di Indonesia akan mendorong upaya bersama untuk pemulihan ekonomi dunia dengan tema Recover Together, Recover Stronger. Kami akan menjamu Yang Mulia dan Bapak Ibu di hamparan pantai Bali yang indah yang menginspirasi gagasan-gagasan inovatif untuk produktivitas G20 ke depan. Sampai bertemu di Indonesia, terima kasih.
Perbincangan hangat tentang isu dan kebijakan ekonomi terkini yang diulas secara mendalam bersama narasumber terpercaya. Market Review, Senin sampai Jumat, jam 10 waktu Indonesia bagian Barat, hanya di IDX Channel.
Kewaspadaan terhadap penyebaran Omikron harus terus diperketat.
Ya, hal ini sebagai antisipasi dari masuknya virus varian lainnya ke Indonesia.
Awali hari Anda dengan informasi dunia ekonomi yang diulas dari berbagai sudut pandang. Simak pula analisa pasar modal dan inspirasi bisnis dari berbagai perusahaan rintisan. Power Breakfast, Senin sampai Jumat, jam 8.30, hanya di IDX Channel.
You're watching Market Headlines. At the Jakarta Composite Index intraday movement earlier today, JCI was open at the level of 6,943.29, and then approaching the closing time on the first session, the index was on the level of 6,880.43, and then the index was showing weakening trend by the second session closing time. Index was closed at the level of 6,868.4, and in short, Jakarta Composite Index went down 0.77%. And next, we're going to see the sectoral movement leading the dynamics of today's trading. We got energy sector as the leader of strengthening trend that went up 2.56%. Non-cyclic went up 0.18%. Transportation and logistic went down 2.29%. And technology went down 1.41%. And moving on to top gainers and top losers, here are the key highlights from today's trading session. Bumi went up 3.92% to the level of 53 rupiah per share. Adaro went up 1.16% to the level of 2,610 rupiah. ADMR went up 24.12% to the level of 1,595 rupiah per share. And Indica Energy went up 5.88% to the level of 2,700 rupiah per share. And meantime, the top losers for today's trading, we got Bank Rakyat Indonesia, went down 1.08% to the level of 4,580 rupiah. Bank Sentral Asia went down 0.31% to the level of 8,025 rupiah. Telkom Indonesia went down 1.38% to the level of 4,290 rupiah. And Arto went down 5.61% to the level of 15,575 rupiah per share. And let's see the intraday movement of rupiah towards US dollar. Open at the level of 14,354 rupiah, showing strengthening trend towards US dollar. And it was closed at the level of 14,411. And in summary, rupiah went up 0.36%. Indica Energy intends to sell shares representing 69.8% share ownership in Petrosi. The management ensures that the transaction will have no impact on Indica Energy's operations and business continuity. Indica Energy plans to release all ownership in Petrosi and transfer it to Caraka Reksa Optima. Indica Energy's corporate secretary Adi Pramono revealed that Caraka has signed a conditional share sale and purchase agreement in connection with the planned sale of all Petrosi shares on February 18, 2022 and effective February 25, 2022. Based on the agreement, Indica Energy intends to sell shares representing 69.8% share ownership in Petrosi. Meanwhile, the agreed valuation for all shares in Petrosi is equivalent to $210 million. The implementation of the proposed transaction will also have no impact on Indica Energy's operations, legal, financial condition, or business continuity. After the planned transaction is completed, Petrosi will no longer be an Indica Energy subsidiary and will not be consolidated in Indica Energy's financial statements. IDX Channel reports. Adisarana Armada is optimistic that it continue its significant performance growth in 2022. The target is for performance to grow above 30%. The issuer of transportation logistics, Adisarana Armada, is optimistic that it can continue its significant performance growth in 2022. The target is for performance to grow above 30%. Adisarana Armada President Director Projo Sunaryanto targets the company's revenue and net profit in 2022 to grow double digits above 30%, driven by the exponential growth in the performance of Antar Aja last mile delivery business line, where this year Antar Aja will still be the largest contributor to ASA with a contribution target of above 50%. Along with the increasing number of transactions through the marketplace, as well as the implementation of restrictions on community mobility by the government, the development of the express logistics industry, including Antar Aja, is increasing. IDX Channel reports. And the news close our market headlines today, and please enjoy our next program on IDX Channel, your trustworthy economic, business and capital market channel. I'm Fajar Oyong. Have a nice evening and stay safe.
Seiring meluasnya cakrawala investasi di tengah pasar saham yang dinamis. Analisa mendalam diperlukan untuk menemukan saham berorientasi value yang menghasilkan kinerja yang tinggi. IDX Channel akan mengulas isu pasar dan pergerakan saham terkini. Saksikan ulasannya bersama analis terpercaya hanya di IDX Channel.